Hashtag why people pretend to understand art. Have you ever stood in front of a painting and thought, I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at? Then you looked around. Someone nearby was nodding thoughtfully. Another person was reading the museum label. Someone else was saying something about symbolism, composition, or the artist's intention. And suddenly, you felt like you were the only person in the room who didn't understand the painting. So you nodded too. Maybe you even said, interesting. But inside, you were thinking, what does that even mean? This happens more often than people admit, because art galleries can create a strange kind of social pressure. We don't just look at art. We watch other people looking at art, and we assume they know something we don't. There is an unspoken expectation that we are supposed to understand. We are supposed to recognize the important artists. We are supposed to know the historical period. We are supposed to understand the symbolism. We are supposed to have an opinion. And sometimes, instead of admitting that we don't understand something, we pretend that we do.
Why?
Because nobody wants to feel unintelligent. Imagine standing in front of an abstract painting. There are shapes, colors, lines, and forms. You don't feel anything particularly strong. You don't understand what the artist is trying to say. But someone next to you says, the fragmentation of the figure represents the psychological instability of modern existence. Now, suddenly, the painting sounds profound. You look at it again. Maybe you think,
oh,
maybe that is what I'm supposed to see. And this is where something fascinating happens. The words can change the painting. Before the explanation, you saw colors and shapes. After the explanation, you begin searching for psychological instability. You are no longer simply looking. You are looking for what you have been told to see. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Context can make art richer. Learning about an artist's life can completely change how we understand their work. Learning about a historical period can reveal things we would never notice on our own. But there is a danger. We can become so concerned with the correct interpretation that we forget our own response.
Art is not always a test.
There isn't always one correct answer. Sometimes a painting makes you happy. Sometimes it makes you uncomfortable. Sometimes it does absolutely nothing for you. And that is allowed. You don't have to like every masterpiece. You don't have to admire every famous artist. And you don't have to pretend that a painting moved you when it didn't. This can be difficult because museums and galleries have authority. The painting is on the wall. The artist's name is written underneath. There may be a long explanation beside it. And the artist may have an impressive reputation. So we assume, if the museum says this is important, I must think it is important too. But art history is not the same thing as personal experience. A painting can be historically important and still not speak to you. Another painting can be relatively unknown and completely capture your attention. That doesn't make you ignorant. It makes you a viewer. And viewers bring their own lives into the gallery. Your age matters. Your memories matter. Your experiences matter. The culture you grew up in matters. The people you have loved matter. The things you have lost matter. All of these things influence what you see. Consider a painting of an elderly woman sitting alone. A young person might see loneliness. Someone who has cared for an aging parent might see something entirely different. Someone else might see strength. Another viewer might see themselves decades in the future. The painting has one image, but it can contain hundreds of different meanings. This is why I think one of the most valuable things you can do in a gallery is to look before you read. Stand in front of the artwork. Don't read the label yet. Don't look up the artist. Don't search for an explanation. Just look. What do you notice first? What do you feel? What attracts you? What bothers you? What do you not understand? Then read the label. Maybe the information confirms what you felt. Maybe it completely contradicts your interpretation. And that's where the experience becomes interesting. Because now you have two perspectives. The artist's world and your world. Sometimes they meet. Sometimes they don't. And that is perfectly fine. There is another reason people pretend to understand art. They are afraid of saying something foolish. They think there is a special language they don't know. Words like composition, perspective, iconography, postmodernism, expressionism, formalism, symbolism. These words can be useful, but they can also create a wall between ordinary people and art. Art shouldn't belong only to people who know the vocabulary. You don't need an art history degree to have a reaction to a painting. You don't need to know every technical term. You don't even need to know why you like something. You can simply say, I don't know what this means, but I keep looking at it. That is a perfectly legitimate response. In fact, it may be one of the most honest responses you can have, because curiosity is often more valuable than pretending. So the next time you are in a gallery and you don't understand a painting, don't look around to see what everyone else thinks. Give yourself permission to be confused. Look longer. Ask questions. And if you still don't like it, that's okay too. You are not failing the artwork. You are experiencing it. Because perhaps the real purpose of a gallery isn't to prove that we understand art. Perhaps it is to give us a place where we can encounter something we don't understand and stay curious long enough to discover why. And maybe the most intelligent thing you can say in front of a painting is not,